Well, thank you, Chairman Garamendi. I want to thank all of our witnesses for being here today and for their testimony and service. The organic industrial base is a vital and important part of our readiness and ultimately our national security. The talented men and women who work in our nation's depots, arsenals, shipyards, and logistics complexes ensure that our warfighters have the equipment that they need when they need it and that it works as designed. Equipment that is more often than not well beyond its service life, but still performing vital missions. As our nation started to feel the impacts of COVID-19 this time last year, the organic industrial base also began tackling how to fulfill their mission while protecting the workforce. Each of the services dealt differently with the problem of touch labor that couldn't be conducted from home. And I look forward to hearing from each of our witnesses what they learned and how they are incorporating these lessons into their planning going forward. COVID also highlighted that this workforce is aging. These are highly skilled artisans with years of experience. I would like to hear from both of you how you are using your authorities to help hire and train I would like to hear both how you are using your authorities to help hire and train the next generation, and also what we can do to help you be innovative in this area. We need to explore different ways to increase the supply of young people joining this skilled labor market to meet these growing demands. Not everyone needs a 4-year college degree, but the nation needs more men and women working in skilled trades. Another issue we see across the services is infrastructure that is not being invested in to maintain the current workload or prepare for modern systems or modern practices. Too often, these are areas that the services have taken budget risk, leaving us with facilities and utilities that were built over 50 years ago. The Navy has a particularly acute problem in this area. The GAO has assessed that all 4 public shipyards are in poor or failing condition with too few functional dry docks. Just last year, the Navy decided to scrap the fire-ravaged Bonhomme Richard, at least partially due to the lack of dry dock space needed to repair it. That we have so little trade space when it comes to the schedule should be concerning to us all. In response to these concerns, the Navy has put forward the Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Plan, or SIOP, to invest $21 billion into the public shipyards' aging dry docks, equipment, and infrastructure. I look forward to seeing this year's budget and the resources that the Navy is committing to this area, because without real dollars, we can't make the progress needed. Finally, I would like to hear from the witnesses how you are managing your sustainment planning. While this committee has certainly talked about how it impacts carryover, and that is something we are still interested in, it also touches everything from training to budgets to hiring. Unfortunately, there aren't many easy answers here, but I know the chairman and I are both committed to working with you all to ensure that the organic industrial base has what it needs to continue to support our men and women in uniform. We need to develop more ways to increase the supply of young people joining the skilled labor market to meet these future demands. Not everybody needs a 4-year college degree, but our nation needs more men and women who are working in skilled trades. So what are your services doing on this front? And General Gamble, I believe you mentioned an apprenticeship program. We'll start with you.
Congressman, thanks for your question. I think one of our best examples is the Anniston Army Depot. I called it an apprenticeship program. I think they officially call it the internship program. It's the Anniston Army Depot High School Internship Program. I've personally visited. I believe you have as well. It's where they take high school students to help them gain skilled trades and that feed our knowledgeable workforce. They're recruited from high schools, not only immediately, but from a 55-mile radius of Anniston Army Depot. So, a pretty broad program there, focused on allied trades, things, as you said, skills that they can use for a career. They also have something called the Pathways Program. It's a 3-phase program that helps interns move from high school to technical tuition assistance. So again, extracurricular to the depot, but providing a pathway for high school students to get advanced training in the public sector, and then move non-competitively to a position working for the government. And that conversion is based on space availability. It's not, the program falls short of guaranteeing them a slot. Frankly, I'm not sure if we need to, that a permanent assured position is a positive thing, because like many of other programs that the Army runs, it feeds local community as well as feeding our workforce. And the last thing that Anniston does, the third of three, is educational community partnership. It's an agreement that's based on development opportunities with local colleges, provide for integration of the students' academic studies, and provide on-the-job experience. That repeats itself all the way from Kaiserslautern, Germany, in one of our industrial facilities in Germany, all the way to Rock Island, Illinois. But I just illuminated Anniston. We can provide details, more comprehensive paper if you'd like, sir.
Okay, and I'd like to hear from the Navy, Air Force, and Marines on this same issue.
Yes, sir. Here, I'll jump in on this. Hey, so at the 4 public shipyards, we have a very active apprenticeship program. It's a 4-year program that we recruit people into from the local communities. We've got partnerships in place generally with the local community colleges. So it's an opportunity for the apprenticeships to earn an associate's degree along the way. And then once we get them in the shipyard, each shipyard has their own learning center established. And I'll use Portsmouth as an example, where they actually have a mock-up of a compartment on board a submarine that they would take, whether it be a pipe fitter or maybe an insulator or an electrician in, to allow them to essentially kind of work through a work package, if you will, before they actually go and do that, transmit and go down to the submarine. We also, each yard also has its own, within those learning centers, their own skills areas where we train on welding or electrical or ship fitting, metalwork, and whatnot. So we do a lot of that. The other thing that we've also recently done is we've executed an interagency agreement to pilot with the new OPM USA Learning Tool, which, as you know, is the kind of a modern IT platform for training that really allows us to kind of open up and make it available to even more people inside the shipyard, these training opportunities. So that's available to folks that are going through that 4-year apprentice program that I talked to, as well as others. And then the other thing that we've got within the shipyard is a kind of an assessment process where the supervisors can if they identify a shipmate that maybe needs a little bit more work in a particular area or whatever, there's a process to kind of send them back through maybe just a particular part of the training that allows them to kind of refresh that skill set that maybe they might be maybe a little bit lacking on. So those are some of the things that we're doing. But the apprenticeship program that we have at all 4 shipyards and the learning center are absolutely key and foundational to the way we train our workforce. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. And Air Force and Marines, do you have similar options going, or a Navy Air?
Sir, Naval Aviation, similar apprenticeship program, 270 currently in that apprenticeship program, and we're using it to try to build loyalty to the depot, so once we train these folks, they don't get pulled away by someone else. Over.
Air Force, Marines, anything to add?
Mr. Lamborn, this is Air Force. Similar to the other services, we continue to bolster and expand our vocational partnerships with the states and the regions. They use our forecast to prioritize their training. We have internships and apprenticeships which bring them in. And similar to Vice Admiral, it does grow loyalty, and we tend to hire those as well. So we're also expanding our educational partnership agreements with higher education. We've got those in Utah, Oklahoma, and Georgia now. They're very effective to get that STEM workforce we need for our engineering workforce. And the third component would be innovation centers at each of our locations. To give you one example, here I'm in Middle Georgia this week at Robins Air Force Base. And on Monday, with Congressman Scott's help, we're going to cut the ribbon on a new facility for our software team but it has a dedicated classroom for local high school students to come into to get mentored and instructed. And sir, we see those folks as future employees. Over.
Sir, on the Marine Corps front, very same thing. I would just second the Pathways program. We use that extensively, especially in the depot for welders, painters, and heavy mechanics, heavy vehicle mechanics. Looking to the future, though, we have to make sure that we're zeroing in on C4I type equipment, electronics, coders, those types of things. So we work closely with high schools on internship programs through Pathways, and then also our community colleges, namely Albany Tech here within Southwest Georgia. I think that's worth me.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad to hear from each of you that you're making concrete steps to accomplish that goal. This is a question for the Army. Both the Air Force and the Navy received CARES Act funding to increase cash balances last year to offset the impact of COVID. Since the Army didn't get those cash funds, how is the Army dealing with that funding need?
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your question. So there's really two components to this. First is our Army Working Capital Fund. And at the time, we honestly didn't think we needed a cash infusion into the Working Capital Fund to offset the health and safety leave, the increased costs of health and safety leave. Because while we put some on leave, as you know, others worked overtime and longer hours to keep the production running. The state of the OCOF today is we have significant concerns inside the Army about the cash balance in our Army Working Capital Fund. And General Daly, our AMC Commanding General, and our Assistant Secretary of the Army for Finance Management Comptroller are working at we call them pulling levers, right? We're taking action to restore our cash balance. We do believe the Army will need a cash infusion into the Working Capital Fund later this year. We estimate that to be between $600 and $900 million. We're working that inside the Army and with OSD. But there's almost no doubt in our mind that in the next 6 to 8 months, we will need a cash infusion to keep the Army Working Capital Fund solvent to the level where it can continue to produce the readiness it produces today. So today we're not in bad shape. We are concerned and we're watching it closely.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you.